I'm absolutely delighted to be here today with Dr. William Frankland, or Bill, as we always call him. Bill is the Honorary President of the Anaphylaxis Campaign, and we're absolutely delighted that he's held that position with us for so many years. Tomorrow, Bill celebrates his special birthday, and he will be 107 years old. And we therefore thought it would be a good idea just to have a little chat with you today, Bill, to draw on some of your experiences in the world of allergy that you've had over your very long career. And I know you've been interviewed many times, and you're certainly a media star. You've been on TV many times and on the radio. So thank you so much for agreeing to do this special interview with us. The first thing I'd like to ask you is, obviously you've had a very long career, and I know you're still working because you still comment on papers for us as an organisation, and you're still very actively engaged in the world of allergy. But what's the biggest change, do you think, you've seen over your very long career?
Well, I suppose there's so many things that have happened, but I think the antibiotic change, when I saw the first sulfonides ever used in this country when I was a medical student, and this seemed a miracle. And then the MB 690, other sulfonides came along. And then, of course, I was very involved in the penicillin story.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'm very proud that the contaminated plate that was contaminated in Professor Fleming's laboratory came from he was one floor up from the ground floor, which was the Allergy Department. So it was the Allergy Department that really set off the antibiotic story as far as penicillin was concerned. But so Fleming, as it were, discovered and coined the word as it came from a penicillium mold, called this new marvelous antibacterial substance, penicillin. But of course, it was Florian Chain in Oxford that really got penicillin sort of going and prepared. And then they went over to America, and the Americans finally produced it so that a lot of people in the services for their wounds and so on, which used to get infected and kill them, they were all treated with penicillin. And I remember one little story, of course, that Fleming was giving a BBC talk, and he wanted to mention that penicillin was marvelous for gonorrhea, and could he mention this word on the BBC at this time? And he rang up Churchill's secretary, and the answer came back very quickly. Yes, they have an injection of penicillin, and 4 hours later they're cured. But before this, they were off work for at least a week. So you must use this word. There are all these little things that happen. But also as a student, Fleming said to me, which I found very interesting, he said, when penicillin is finally available, it will almost certainly be overused. And if it's overused, bacteria are very cunning. They will get resistant to it. I didn't know what he was talking about. Now everyone talks about resistance to the antibiotic. But I was learning this, as it were. He was foreseeing something that was going to happen years later when it was freely available and overused, particularly because it was the vets, as well as humans, were overusing penicillin. But when he gave the Nobel Prize lecture in America, Nobel Prize, he said, one of the dangers of penicillin, it will be underused. It's rather interesting that he's now taking a different line, but he said, and still what will happen to the bacteria will survive, and by underusing it will get resistant strains. And you almost see these little things. And then when it was freely available, it was very interesting that you used to get all these letters from lay people saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. You saved my life with your new drug, or saved my leg, or whatever it is. Well, he hadn't time to read all these. So I and his secretary, Pauline Hunter, used to read. But so many of them would ask for a signed copy of the original paper written in 1929, which is extremely complicated.
Oh my goodness.
And
yes.
He would just say, how many signed copies do we want today, this morning? And we'd say 5, and another day we'd say 15. And this was sort of one of the things you used to go through, pile maybe 40 or 50 letters, you see, all sorts of little things that arise, which is, in retrospect, really quite interesting.
Yeah, and it's quite amazing because, of course, Alexander Fleming's name reverberates around the world. And to think that you were a student with him all those years ago is quite incredible. But that's just one aspect of your very incredible life.
I had to see him every day in the last 2 years of his life, 54, 55, he died. I had to see him every day at 10 o'clock. And theoretically, we were to talk about the patients in an experimental ward. He wasn't interested in clinical medicine. And only once in 2 years can I remember him asking about a patient who had just arrived from Peru and so on. And I know they actually died. But the patients used to come with weird and wonderful undiagnosed things and so on. But that's serenity. I was supposed to talk about patients, but no, we never did. We talked about all sorts of other things. I should have written a book about it then, but I didn't.
Yeah. Well, you of course, there's one book about your life that's been published only in the last 12 months, which tells some of your remarkable story. And we've spent, as you know, we've spent a lot of time chatting about various things that you've done. One of the things that really I found one of the most amazing stories, which perhaps you'd like to repeat for today, is when you gave yourself anaphylaxis.
Yes. I nearly killed myself. I was interested in delayed reactions, but all insects that bite me, mosquitoes, fleas, bugs, whatever, all cause an immediate reaction. But I thought, no, I had a delayed reaction before the immediate. So I chose this bug, which I knew I'd never come across before, from tropical Bedson, and it came from South America, Rio de Janeiro, and so on. It's now in the southern states of USA, called Rhodes spirixis, and it quite a big bug. And if you go to these countries, you can go to bed at night, and it will come up the bed, and it will take your blood from your face, which is everything that's showing above the sheets. And so you wake up in the morning with a swollen face. It's called the kissing bug. People think,
oh goodness.
People think you've been misbehaving. Anyhow, this was the bug I chose, and it came from tropical medicine. And they said it also carried a very nasty disease, but they said no, this was quite free. So I let it feed itself on my arm. Kept it in a test tube with a bit of cotton ball, took the cotton ball out, it came running along, very hungry, dead on my arm. And the first bite of all, I'd never met it before, no response, which is what you'd expect. A week later, I fed it again, and 48 hours later, a little bacterial and so on, and this is what happened. And by the 5th bite, my arm was so swollen for 3 days.
Bite.
By the fifth week, it was very swollen. I showed it to my friends in the department. They said, why don't you take cortisone and steroid to get rid of it? I said, no, I just want to see how long it's going to remain. And then the question was, what will the next bite do? You see, and I said, well, if I'm right, it's going to cause an immediate positive response. They said, no, it's going to cause the neurosis, you're going to lose your arm or something. And I said, no, you won't. So anyhow, when it had its bite, it was very slow feeder. I really began to feel an itch before it finishes its meal, as it were. So I was right. And the 7th bite was a wheel with pseudopodia and all sorts of things around it, and very itchy, but still immediate. And I thought, well, now what will happen with the 8th bite? Will I be desensitized, or will that be worse? So it was very lucky I went into the side room at St Mary's Hospital in Paddington, and and got a probation nurse. I said, take my blood pressure every 3, 4 or 5 minutes and see that it's all right. And she took it. And I always remember after it had begun to start its meal, it was about 4 minutes, I think, or it might have been 5 minutes. And she suddenly said, the machine is broken. And I felt my pulse, and now his pulse was, next moment my face was all swollen, I was itching all over, and I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't speak, and I knew that I was having anaphylaxis. So what did I do? I put my legs as high as I could, and my head as low as I could, because I wanted to remain conscious, but it was so annoying. She ran out and got Sister, luckily. Sister came in, with the warden, and she said, oh, you've been doing one of your silly experiments. I'll give you adrenaline. I'll give you a cc of adrenaline. 1 cc. And I couldn't, I tried to say that it's work adrenaline, but she knew what I couldn't say. When she said 1 cc, I put up 3 fingers. And I was still conscious, but only just, and I couldn't speak. And she left the side room, went and got the bottle, and got a syringe and put 0.3, I think 0.3, and the textbook said when you have severe anaphylaxis, you have a feeling of impending doom.
Yes, which is what we always talk about now.
I would say, in other words, you think you're going to die, and I thought, I'm going to die. But it was very interesting that from the time I think instead of giving it in the leg, it was needed, she gave it me in my deltoid, I believe, but anyhow, within about 90 seconds, I thought, oh, I'm going to live.
But that really is dedication to duty.
Well, yes, I learned, what was it, 20 years later, that the description of acute anaphylaxis in this insect had been described 100 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yes. They described it with something which you would call, of course, and I would call now anaphylaxis.
Yes.
What word hadn't been coined at it.
Yes, yes, but it's a good job they had that adrenaline handy when you chose to undertake that experiment on yourself.
And then, of course, about 9 or 10 minutes later, I was getting my symptoms all back again, although I could breathe and I could speak a bit. But so I asked Sister to give me another injection.
Yes.
And then, strange thing, I don't know why, but I was seeing a patient at 4:30. This was over the road. I mean, and I thought, I mean, I should have, technically, I should have been in A&E for the next 3 to 4 or 5 years. 5 hours, you see.
6 hours now, Bill.
Again, and I was interested, the main point of my experiment was about the lady experiment. Anyhow, I went over, and as soon as I got to my outpatients, the night sister said, you've been doing one of your silly experiments. I forgot my face was still swollen, but I felt reasonable. And she said, I'll give you adrenaline. I said, no, you won't. I've had 2 and I don't want to. Anyhow, I saw the patient for about half an hour. To this day, I can't now remember why it was some special patient that I was interested in. I can't remember what the situation was, but that doesn't matter. It was in the first week of February, I do know this, and the outpatient was level below ground. There was this awful noise outside. I went round, and there's a 1 in 4 going up from the garage onto the road outside, and they were trying. This nurse was trying in her mini car to get up, and she couldn't do it. One student. So I said, another 2 hands, and don't put your foot right down on the accelerator, be reasonable. And we got up, and away she went, and I was tired. But the next moment, I got what I was not expecting, what happened. I got a delayed response, and this was about 5 o'clock, and the original one was, I saw it at 2. So it's a nice delayed response. But to this day, it was icy cold, and was it exercise, or was it a delayed response from my instinct? I don't know.
Well, I'm just very glad that it didn't result in what might have happened.
Yeah, now you can do what you want to. You give me a third. You give me my 3rd injection of adrenaline, because I was beginning to itch all over and get more swollen and so on. But it's nice that when I see mothers bring their children with peanut allergy or anaphylaxis or egg or whatever it is, but sometimes it's what I call really mild. I said, Well, the doctor that you're seeing has had a much more severe attack of that. So I know quite a bit about this subject.
Yes.
That always pleases them. I say that I've had, of course, they think this dreadful disease that a child has, or maybe an adult has. But I would say it's an advantage when the doctor has had the same complaint.
Absolutely. And you've had some very famous patients, haven't you, during your long career?
Yes.
And I think the one that always astonishes me is you actually did treat Saddam Hussein, didn't you?
Saddam Hussein is my most grateful patient in all my life. I've never had a more grateful patient. I mean, people now won't have it a long time ago. A lot of people won't have even heard him. And when the Iraqi embassy in London rang up and said, would I go and see a very important person and so on. They rang up on Thursday morning, I remember this very well. And I said to the girl in the appointment, so you know I don't answer the phone when I'm seeing patients and teaching students, but this is an embassy, perhaps you will. And so it was a Thursday morning, so I went, could you come this weekend to Baghdad? And so I said, no, I'll come in the next weekend, I can clear myself. And I'd never heard of Saddam Hussein. But when I got there, I realized how important the head of a state can be. And he was being treated by an American, and they said he got severe asthma, and he was also allergic to mole spores. He hadn't got asthma on about 5 different sorts of asthma, but he hadn't got asthma on any definition of asthma, and he wasn't allergic to any fungal spores. I mean, I didn't test it, but no, he was. If he wasn't eating, sleeping, or praying, he was smoking a cigarette. He was smoking over 40 cigarettes a day. And I said, he was so addicted to it. And I said, you won't, this is a silly thing. I said, if you go on smoking and you're so addicted, you won't be head of state in 2 years' time, because you won't be able to talk or walk or something. They said, what are you going to give him? And I said, he only requires one bit of advice, which I've given him. And I said, I treat you the same way as I treat a beggar. I didn't think he liked this at all. I said, to me, you're a patient who has a problem, and the problem can be solved by the patient themselves.
Lifestyle.
And when I was waiting in the VIP lounge the following morning, this man came up to me. The man that you have come over to see has followed your advice when you want to see him again. Because I said I wouldn't go and see him again because I didn't think he would. I knew he'd get worse if he went on smoking. So I really used almost a political sort of advice, and he went on, and people knew it. In fact, as I said once, I'd heard that. So I went to Baghdad for the next, 1, 2, 3 years, I think it was, from an allergy clinic. But I never saw him again because no, he was well. Very, very grateful. But then he invited me to go and as a thank you, and this was about 4 months after I saw him. It was really quite relevant. And he was amazingly well considered.
Just with that very simple advice, which probably nobody else had dared tell him.
No, and we had this marvelous son. And tomorrow on my birthday, my daughter Hilary, we took her. We were told we had been up to 6 children, and they would pay for the first class fare. And we just took one. She was, at that time, she was a pretty blonde age, 19. Anyhow, when we went for the lunch, before we went into lunch, and this lovely drawing room, and it's almost unbelievable, all the carpets and all the old things. But there was also a grand piano, and I foolishly said, did he like piano or did he play? No, he didn't. He said he was learning, but he hadn't time to do anything more. Did I play? No, did not. No, but and she said she without music, and she could play it easily without music. Without music, she didn't want. Oh, what? We'll bring you what you want, Beethoven, they get the whole of this. And she said Mozart. Right, and about 2 minutes later, a whole lot of sheets of Mozart came. And in fact, they were. She said, I've never asked her since. She said they were rather simplified Mozart that you play when you're learning. but she was played without any music. And, anyhow, she played, and he was absolutely delighted with the piano, because I'd made this remark about this, a nice grand piano, who used it. Anyhow, then we went into lunch, and then what did he say at the end of lunch? And Henry sat next to him, and that was wrong, I think. Anyhow, at the end of lunch, he said, I'm extremely grateful for the advice I received and all of that. And I wanted to show this. All women like shopping. And he said, you can go with my interpreter anywhere in Baghdad. You can buy anything you like, and I will pay for it. It's an amazing thing. And,
good grief.
And I've still got some of the things that we'd had a burglary in London, and table napkin rings. And we've got these silver ones in the house, and we still remember selling the same. But I said I want to see the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and he said no. And then someone said, "No, you can go yet." And the next day we spent the whole day going all around Iraq, a marvelous day with this nice interpreter. We could go wherever in his private car it was, and we could see why he didn't want it. Wherever we went to be. There's Air Force people or Army and so on. But I remember Harry one moment said, I've come all this way for the first time. I haven't even seen a camel. Oh, the car turned at a sort of right angle. And within about a mile, there were masses of camels in the place. I didn't really been near 100 camels. The smell is not good.
Oh. So, that's just one of the very remarkable sort of episodes in your life, in your very long life that.
But I can tell you another amusing one, which I don't think is in the book.
Oh right, an exclusive.
Well, I got a marvelous sister in our patients who was at the time of Lady Broadbent, and one Wednesday morning I said, a month today. When we only see old patients, that's not new patients, that's what I mean. Every single patient that comes along has got a title. My nurse has got a title, and the only person who hasn't got a title is me. And this is what happened. And the interesting thing is, they all came in chauffeur-driven cars and parked in no place where the house company couldn't park his car.
Right.
But I would say that was interesting day, but in fact I did a bit of cheat. But there was one person who hadn't got the title, but later on he became Prime Minister, and later on he became Lord, and so on. So I always say a lot of people. Oh yes, the House Government sent his secretary over to why are all these cars there? Is it royalty? Because a month or so before. We'd been treated with a friend of mine, an endocrinologist, not Australian, had treated Armstrong Jones, Margaret's father-in-law, and he was so pleased, and he got some new apparatus, and he got Margaret to come along and officially opened the scissors that are available, and the House Government arrived about 10 o'clock. Why were all these policemen about it? And they said it's royalty. He said, can't be the. Yes, it's royalty visiting the hospital. But they're not, I'm the head of the hospital, they should know. No, he wasn't invited. So when I invited all these, my title people, he said, I think it's royalty again. And so he sent his secretary over, but he wasn't pleased. It was all these chauffeur-driven cars. And, no, it's Dr. Frankland's outpatients.
Oh, yeah.
So, little things. Just every now and again, you have to be, things that get a bit serious and things, so you have to be not so serious on occasions.
And of course, the team at St Mary's is still doing absolutely brilliant work with regard to allergy. And there's an area of the department, isn't there, that's actually named after you at St Mary's Hospital now.
Yes, and in fact, the painter who painted my picture, Frankland, died last week.
Right.
And so on. And she was in the December, she was at the when we were presenting our book, which she was there, but she was obviously there. However, there's another thing. This can or cannot be published, but there's a penicillin museum at St Mary's, I don't know,
Right.
and children go there and other people, and it shows what Fleming's laboratory was like when the place was contaminated. But they now want to do on the ground floor immediately below. And I tried before I left St Mary's, tried to get a museum going, and the archivist said, no, there's no room. But now that's going forward. But what I'm trying to do, they wanted to call it the Frankland Allergy Unit. And I said, I'll support it in every way, but the word Frankland must be removed. The penicillin thing, it doesn't say it's Fleming Penicillin Museum, it's the Penicillin Museum. This is the Allergy Museum.
Right.
And in fact, the Allergy Department, it started, the first ever in the world desensitization of the disease by Lynne Regent, 1911. But the next one that really mattered was Frankland, 1954, using statistics to show you that statistically, if you use the right thing, it really worked, you see. And interestingly, I like this, they say in the last 100 years, that two out of the four things that really mattered came from the same department. St Mary's Hospital.
Because of course, Bill, without you, we wouldn't have the pollen count, which everyone is familiar with.
I could tell you a story about this. We used to see thousands of people, literally. In 2.5 months, people just didn't believe it. Again, the same house government, census secretary, all these people pouring into the department, the biggest department in the whole hospital. I mean, an outpatient department in the hospital. We had the board as well, but I said in 48 hours I'll give you the figure. How many patients have we seen in 2.5 months? Believe it or not, it was over 6,000.
Good
and so what happened? Now I didn't know that I was being paid at that time. This is just to do secretarial thing. Although I had been in charge of the department for over 10 years and doing everything, I'd officially never been elected, as it were, as a consultant. And they suddenly had to do this, and we had to advertise this job of who was in charge of, and people went up for it, and I knew the other two, but Fleming said, don't worry, Franklin, it's your job.
So you've had a fantastic career and been involved in pivotal points of change. What's the biggest change you think you've seen in the world of allergy? What's the biggest developments that's made the most difference over your long career?
In the world of allergy, well, there have been so many changes. I mean, allergy in general throughout the world seems to have increased, but you have to think about all things. And I'm always interested in, it was just to see, when I was originally qualified, I qualified in 1938, 10 years before National Health started.
Yes.
Which I was in favour of at the time, very much so. When I think that we saw people, children and adults, but many children who were egg sensitive and milk sensitive and fish sensitive, but we never saw peanut sensitive at all. And then we saw peanut anaphylaxis and peanut deaths and so on. So if we just take that one thing, peanuts, anaphylaxis and so on, and it's interesting, and then I'm sure you know, if you go to Israel, I've never been there, but Israel never have peanut anaphylaxis.
That's
of course,
right.
the mothers always get peanut butter in the United States, age 3 and 4 months, and so they develop an immunity. But what they do, they get sensitive to sesame, which they have.
Yes.
If you've ever been to the Middle East, sesame and all sorts of things. So you can't escape, even I mean, I did a twin, the people always say, well, family history is interesting. And I say, well, as an identical twin, I don't think, and you can't choose your parents. So, I've had seasonal hay fever due to grass pollen for 90 years and finally grown out of it. But I remember my twin brother, aged 6 or 7 or 8, was helping with the local farmer. I said, I just can't continue my eyes and everything. It's so awful. I remember him teasing me. So that was when I first started. But I've been working with nausea for quite a long time before I thought, well, I just see, am I allergic to grass pollen? It's quite obvious that I claimed that I am, but it was relatively mild. And we now know that genes are probably about a third important, and the whole business of genes. I mean, if you're a criminal, they decide, you know, are these particular genes somewhere on the patient and so on. But they're even thinking it might be worthwhile examining people's genes when they're healthy, and you can say you are liable because of your gene to get this particular disease and so on. I hope this doesn't happen. But in the allergic patients that I see, especially the anaphylaxis, as 1/3 may be due to genes, which you can't change, but the rest of the things are due to the environment. And it's the environment, of course, has changed, and just the way the Israelis feed their children shows how important the foods are and so on. And we're now so interested in bacteria. If you have a cesarean section, you're not meeting hopefully any bacteria at all. Yes. Whilst if you have a normal one through the vagina, this is what the child requires. And a cow, when it has its calf, the calf must suck the mother's milk for the first 7 days. The farmers have known this for years.
Yes, yes.
And I'm writing a paper at present on duck.
Right.
And good or bad. Fungi, good or bad. And people said, this is only a recent thing. I mean, well, you're feeling, as it were, I'd be careful what I say, but very recent. I mean, we never thought of the Anaphylaxis Campaign and so on, the beginning of my career when I was qualified. But you read the Bible, there's a marvelous description in Leviticus of mold growing in a boat, and he puts all the treatment of this house was moldy, and he even describes what penguins coming from the mold, and he says it's a red one. So it's a marvelous description, and it's all in Leviticus. So here was someone who knew how and was interested 5,000 years ago in literature. I mean, why will not the Jewish people going to eat pork? Why is it? Because wild pigs, and now they're in this country, wild pigs will eat anything with its snout, and it loves moldy things going bad and things that are horrible. And they're all very poisonous. And all penicillin molds are very poisonous. The pigments are very poisonous. And so on. And Moses knew all about this. And it's the reason that the pigs, in fact, the poison, which doesn't affect the pig at all, goes in its flesh. And if you eat that flesh, you will pick up the poison. So what you read in the Bible is very good medicine, sorted by Moses. The pigs didn't get anaphylaxis or anything. So, bringing up to date, but you can go back 5,000 years. So.
Well, we'll certainly look forward to your latest paper, Bill. That's fantastic. And in terms of the future, because some of the work you've described, about the peanut allergy, and there's been brilliant work, as you know, you're very familiar with it, the work that's been done by some of our British researchers, taking the whole treatment agenda forward. What do you see? What do you think is going to happen next in terms of the developments within the world of allergy. What do you think the future holds?
Now people are so interested not only in cells, but in fact how cells work. There are more fungal cells than there are ordinary cells on your body. People don't realize. So I've always been interested in mold spores and fungi and so on. But there is billions. A country can get infected crops due to fungi and so on. There's a lot of work on that. And I was reading an article the other day that in any 1 year, 1 million people die of anaphylaxis due to fungi and so on, which just people aren't interested because the whole crops can be affected. And it's just famine and they all die and so on. But in general, people now are looking, well, one thing that we thought when I was looking at pollens and some fungal spores are very small, but now they're looking at diesel fumes and tiny little things.
Yes.
When, I think you may know that when a grass pollen meets water, it explodes. Now this is described by Blackley in 1873, but people just don't sort of follow. So you get thunderstorm asthma, and in Melbourne, there were 10 deaths due to thunderstorm asthma. And I was interested in it. I used to see what is in the outside air and what happens when the water hits in the thunderstorm. When the water hits grass pollen, it explodes and forms well over 100 tiny little things, which under normal microscope you can't see. But you can't see they're very interested in the general what is in the outside world and so on, diesel fumes and so on. And there are tiny little particles that can go right down into the end of the lung and periscope of the lung. The grass pollen couldn't get there, but it's too big. Now we see why it does. But in general, it's rather like in cancer research and everything. They're looking at what is the nucleus, how important is it to this particular cell. So they're looking at smaller and smaller and smaller particles. One of the things, I was interested, well, I don't know if you realize there are fungal spores in this room. How do you know this? If I leave bread out long enough, 2 weeks or an orange cut open, it'll go moldy, won't it?
Yes. So
you're breathing in right now small amounts of penicillin mold. That's a very common one of some sort. But you can deal with it. Again, it's your gene, fibrocystic disease or so on. Poor and you've already got damaged lung. Then a small number will further damage and all sorts of things. That's it. You asked a short time ago about doing the pollen count, why I didn't do it. This all depends on one silly woman who was very intelligent, she thought she was. And she said, I'm seeing her in this rush of people, and I was the 5th person to see her in a special hay fever clinic. This is a clinic where you had one disease only, and there was seasonal hay fever due to grass, seasonal hay fever with or without asthma. And we could deal with this. We paid students to be there. They could learn quite a bit about allergy. Anyhow, this silly woman, and she said, I know the cause. I was looking at her phone, and I said, well, your history shows you're already grass pollen sensitive, and this has been confirmed by your skin tests and so on. She said, oh, I don't think so. I know the cause of my hay fever is entirely due to my roses. And I said, roses don't put any pollen in the air. It's insects that come and do it. She looked at me and said, but I know this is my roses. I said, well, I even have a rose out in Christmas in December. So your roses must flower only in June and July or so, and the rest of the time. Do you know what you're talking about, Dr. Frankland? I said, I don't think it's worth spending a lot of time telling you that what you can see isn't causing you the trouble. But in fact, what I didn't tell her, of course, if you have a rose, you want to know, does it have a perfume? So it opens up like that, and as soon as that's open, grass pollen will flow in. So when you do a propagation test, you're actually doing propagation test with grass pollen.
Yes, of
So you might get the wrong answer. I thought, shall I say, do you smell any of your roses? I thought, no, you're only using your eyes and colour, and you're getting the wrong answer.
Yes.
So,
it's quite remarkable, Bill. Your memory, the way that you tell these brilliant stories is absolutely fantastic. As I say, we're so proud that you are our Honorary Vice President.
He's my favourite. I would say you are my favourite charity.
Hooray! But what I would say is, from all of us owe you such a lot, and it's not exaggerating to say that you could call you the great grandfather with regard to allergy, and you're certainly a shining light to all of us. So long may you continue to be our Honorary President, because we're very proud of that. And from all of us at the Anaphylaxis Campaign, and in fact, I'm sure I'm saying from all the stakeholders who support the Anaphylaxis Campaign, have a wonderful birthday tomorrow. I know you've got some very exciting plans for tomorrow, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much.